A young black woman driving her dream car, a sleek luxury ride that turns heads wherever it goes, was having a great day until flashing lights appeared in her rearview mirror. Pulled over without explanation, she was met with a police officer whose attitude reeked of bias and disrespect. The officer questioned her right to own such a car, implying she didn't belong behind the wheel of something so expensive. But this wasn't just another routine stop. It was about to take a turn no one saw coming. As tensions rose, the officer's assumptions would soon backfire in a way that delivers a powerful message about justice, accountability, and the dangers of prejudice. What started as an attempt to intimidate her would become a lesson he wouldn't forget. Stay tuned to see how this situation flipped entirely and how justice found its way in the most unexpected moment. The woman, confident yet cautious, kept her composure as the officer asked for her license and registration. She handed them over without hesitation, her calm demeanor masking the frustration brewing inside. She had worked tirelessly to afford this car, a symbol of her hard-earned success. But here she was, being questioned simply because of who she was and what she drove. The officer lingered, looking over her documents with a smirk, throwing in condescending comments about how someone like her could afford such a vehicle. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the underlying message that she didn't belong. Meanwhile, a small crowd began to gather at a distance, sensing something wasn't right. But as the minutes ticked by, something shifted. Unbeknownst to the officer, the woman wasn't as powerless as he assumed. She had a plan, and it was only a matter of time before it unfolded. As the officer continued to press her with unnecessary questions, his tone grew sharper, almost daring her to make a wrong move. She stayed calm, carefully choosing her words, knowing that any sudden action could escalate the situation. Meanwhile, her phone, subtly placed in the cup holder, had been recording everything since the moment she was pulled over. This wasn't the first time she had dealt with prejudice, and she knew the importance of having evidence on her side. The onlookers nearby began whispering, some pulling out their phones to record from a distance. They could sense the tension in the air, and the woman's quiet confidence only added to the intrigue. What was she waiting for? The officer's impatience started to show. He leaned in, making a remark about her attitude and whether she had something to hide. What he didn't realize was that justice was already in motion, and his assumptions were about to cost him more than he could imagine. The officer, growing more frustrated, decided to step up his game. He called for backup, claiming he had a suspicious situation on his hands. The woman watched as another patrol car pulled up, its lights flashing brightly in the distance. The scene was quickly becoming a spectacle, and the murmurs from the small crowd turned into louder conversations. People began questioning why so much force was being used for what should have been a routine traffic stop. The woman stayed calm, though her mind raced. She knew she couldn't let fear take over. With her phone still recording, she quietly tapped a message to her lawyer, sharing her location and the details of the situation. She had prepared for moments like these, knowing that dignity and strategy would be her strongest weapons. As the second officer approached, the original one leaned against her car, smirking as if he had already won. But he had no idea that the evidence against him was mounting, and the truth was about to expose him in a way he never saw coming. As the second officer approached, the woman noticed a shift in demeanor. This one seemed less confrontational but still wary, carefully scanning the scene. Meanwhile, the first officer continued to assert his authority, now making vague accusations about potential stolen property and demanding to search her vehicle. The woman refused politely but firmly, standing her ground while knowing her rights. But then something unexpected happened. One of the bystanders, a sharp-eyed man holding a phone, stepped forward. "Officer, you might want to check your facts before you dig yourself deeper," he said loudly, drawing everyone's attention. All eyes turned to him as he continued, "Because I recognize her. She's a well-known entrepreneur. I've seen her in the news before." The first officer froze for a moment, his smug expression faltering. The woman, still calm, allowed a small smile to appear. The tension thickened as the second officer glanced at the woman, clearly realizing there was more to this situation than they'd been led to believe. What happened next would change everything. The first officer's confidence began to crumble as the crowd grew louder, with more people recognizing the woman and pointing out her achievements. The second officer, now clearly uncomfortable, leaned in to whisper something to his colleague, but the woman spoke up. "I think you've done enough," she said, her voice steady but firm. "And I believe your supervisor should hear about this." At that moment, her lawyer arrived, stepping out of a car parked nearby. Calm but commanding, the lawyer presented himself to the officers. "This stop has been recorded from the start," he said, holding up his phone. "And so has your behavior. I suggest you proceed carefully." The first officer stammered, trying to justify his actions, but the lawyer cut him off. Then came the twist. The woman, still poised, handed the second officer her business card. "I'm also on the city council," she said. "I oversee community police relations. We'll be addressing this at our next meeting." The first officer's face turned pale as the realization hit. Justice wasn't just being served, it was being delivered directly by someone who could hold him accountable. As the woman drove off, the crowd cheered, knowing they had just witnessed a powerful victory over prejudice. As the woman drove away, she couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and determination. The encounter, while frustrating and unjust, had shown her the power of preparation and standing firm. Word of the incident spread quickly, with bystander videos going viral and sparking a larger conversation about accountability and bias in policing. The officer's actions didn't go unnoticed. An internal investigation was launched, and the department released a statement committing to retraining efforts and community engagement. The woman, true to her word, brought the issue to the city council, ensuring that what happened to her would lead to meaningful change. For the people who witnessed it all, the moment served as a reminder that justice can prevail when people stand together and speak out. And for the woman, it was proof that dignity and perseverance can turn even the most unjust moments into opportunities to create a better future.